Okay, so good evening, everyone. It's already 6 p.m. So, welcome to this episode of AtoAni Learn series, where we share to you insights about different sustainable solutions. For instance, upcycling, which is what we will be discussing in our webinar today. So, we will be joined by a guest panelist from Cloop and Alpas, whom we will get to know more about later. So, to everyone who is watching right now, stay tuned and do put in the comment section where you're watching. You can also share this live stream to your respective social media accounts to have more people learn from the discussion. Okay, so I'd like to introduce our topic. This is episode 3 of Ato Ani Learn series, where we will discuss about reimagining upcycling under the new normal. So I will be your moderator for today. I'm Ovi, and my line of work is in strategy, digitalization, and innovation. And I volunteer during my free time. And I'm also passionate about sustainability, which I express through the social ventures AtoAni BioPack and AtoAni. And although my background is in chemical engineering and business, far from sustainability courses, but the same as everyone here, I'm excited to learn more about this topic from our guests, panelists who are really working on upcycling. So now, to kick off the topic, a lot of you might ask, why should we even talk about upcycling now? And why are we even having this webinar in the first place? You know, there are a lot of topics we can talk about, like this pandemic, but why this? So I know that we are all aware of the COVID-19 pandemic, and it has shocked the world in all aspects, from the people, the government, the economy, and there has its devastating effects. But it is indeed a bigger problem that we are facing right now. But we could not erase the fact that our planet is slowly dying because of the things that we people are doing which harm the environment. So, to give you an idea, let me share to you a few statistics to prove this. So these numbers are captured yesterday from the website The World Counts. So the World Counts provides you real-time data about the most pressing issues that the world is facing. So if you look at these numbers, as of yesterday, for this year alone, 2020, there are over 3 trillion plastic bags that are produced, and more than 7 million tons of plastic waste are dumped in our oceans. And around 6 billion tons of solid waste is generated from clothing, electronic, the plastic waste, right? So look at these numbers. These are in the tunes of billions and trillions and millions. And this sounds alarming, right? So that is why we organized a discussion around this topic, particularly on reducing plastic and clothing waste through upcycling. Now, to shed light about upcycling, our panelists for today will share some practical insights about this and more. And I'm excited to ask them some questions, and I believe you're excited to ask your questions as well. So don't forget to type in your questions in the comment section so that we can view them for our panelists to answer. We would really love to have those questions that you have. And we would also love if you could share some likes and heart reacts on this Facebook live stream. Okay, so without further ado, let me introduce to you our panelists for today, who are also sustainability advocates. So I've known them through Make Sense. Glenn is a fellow incubatee under the Plastic Smart Cities program of the Make Sense incubation program. And Julia is a fellow volunteer under the Reaction program supporting the Water and Life organization. So they will be introducing themselves to us one by one. All right. So I would like to first call in Glenn Ongpin. He is the co-founder and CEO of Cloop, which is working on upcycling of plastic waste. So Glenn, kindly turn on your video and mic, please, and tell us more about you and what you do.
Thanks, Wilvi. So, hi everyone. My name is Glenn Ongpin. I'm a recent graduate of Materials Engineering from UP Diliman, and as Wilvi said, I'm one of the co-founders of Cloop. So, we're a social enterprise, and our aim is to close the loop on waste. So, what we do is that we work together with communities in need, like the urban poor, women groups, persons with disabilities, and more. And we provide them the technology and the support so they can earn extra income through waste recycling. So because of that, these communities are able to turn plastic waste that they have in their communities and turn them into high value products. So one example, one of the things we're working on are plastic tiles made from plastic waste. So these were made from sandbags. And through our machines and through our community partners, we were able to create something very similar to this. So great. So last year, we were able to win a competition called Climathon. And because of that, we were able to partner with Pasig City. And now we're in the process of setting up our pilot site there. So we're going to be launching at the end of this month. So stay tuned. I'm really excited to be here in this call and really talking a bit more about upcycling and what we do at Cloop, as well as what we can do in the waste management problem in general. Glad to be here.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. So I'm excited to learn more about what you will do next month, as what you have told us, and I'm sure everyone who's watching right now is also excited as well. So stay tuned to more updates about Cloop. Now, next, let me call on our next panelist, Julia Vicente. She is the owner of Alpas, and she advocates for sustainable clothing. So, Julia, I want you to kindly turn on your video and mic, please, and tell us more about you.
Hi guys, I'm Julia Vicente. I'm 19 years old. I'm a current second year college student at the Salle University of Manila, and I'm studying political science. So like what will be said earlier, I'm the owner of Alpas, and Alpas is basically my own little baby. It's just a small business and we're just starting out. So my main plan for this business is to create sustainable clothing, and while that is in the works because of the current pandemic, which caused the delay in our production and our resourcing, I've currently started selling plants, tops, and sunnies to raise funds for my future projects and for my future items that we will be releasing soon, as well as to donate for the COVID-19 initiatives. So yeah, I'm so happy to be here, and I hope you learn a lot from us. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. So, so much for that volunteer effort and also, helping during this time of the pandemic. So now that, thank you so much. Now that all our panelists are here, we can now open all our mics and videos. Let's start with the first question. So, I'll be calling each of you one by one. So this is directed to both of you so that we avoid overlap. So right now, I'm actually curious to know, what is your opinion about the plastic, global plastic and textile waste problem? So I've learned from our previous webinar about the refilling economy that the waste generated right now around the world has increased significantly since the start of the pandemic. So, Glenn, we can probably start with you.
Yeah. So when you were presenting those insights earlier today, like there's 3 trillion plastic bags being generated this year. Like as I able to it's really hard for me to imagine that kind of number. But then I was looking at other studies and statistics, and I was able to really like visualize how big the plastic problem really is. So for example, one study I saw, they found the equivalent of a garbage truck entering the ocean every minute, and that's just in plastic waste. And another study I saw, there was plastic waste in the oceans is going to triple by 2040 if we're going at the rate that we're going right now. And even more alarming is that by 2050, if we're still on the same path, there's going to be a lot more plastic than fish in the oceans. So able to see all of these things, I'm like, is there really a way to deal with the plastic waste problem? It seems like such a big thing we can do. So yeah, that's my opinion on it. It's a big problem, but the way to do it is to take it piece by piece and solve it one by one. So even though we start with small actions, these two build up to big things over time. So regarding plastic waste, and we did say, should we totally eliminate plastic waste? And I think something I would say is a different viewpoint than from most people, because we often demonize plastic waste. I mean, we always see a lot of programs that always ban plastic waste and all of that. So for me, I studied materials engineering. So throughout my studies, I was able to find out that plastic is such a useful material. It's really changed the world of manufacturing. It makes a lot of goods and products more accessible to a lot more people. So from what I can tell, like looking at this whole problem, it's not really in the material itself. The problem is in how we manage the waste itself. So I think for me, the target in how we solve this plastic problem isn't by demonizing plastic waste. It's to change how we see plastic. instead of looking at it as something we try to avoid altogether. We should just view it instead as a resource we can use to create new products instead. I'll talk a bit more about that in the next in the coming minutes. But I also want to talk about how we should rethink as well our waste management systems so that we can make them more effective in the first place. So that's my take on it. It's that it's a big problem, but we really need to rethink how we're approaching it right now. Yeah. So I think that's for me. I'm really excited to see about the textile problem as well. Maybe Julie can give us a bit more insights on that.
Okay, so just to add to what Glenn said, basically parehas lang kami nang sasabihin, no? So today we produce about 300 million tons of plastic waste every year, and 50% of those is coming from single-use plastic. So that's like nearly equivalent to the entire weight of the entire human population. And second to oil, the clothing and textile industry is the largest polluter in the world, and nearly 20% of the global wastewater is produced by the fashion industry. So globally, there is a continuous production of textile fibers and apparel used by the fashion and retail industry, which amounts to more than 110 million tons every year. And this is leading to the generation of high amounts of unnecessary textile waste. For instance, 20% and 20,000 liters is the amount of water needed to produce 1 kilogram of cotton, which is also equivalent to a single t-shirt and a pair of jeans. So just imagine that every day, these retail industries are producing more than thousands, hundreds of thousands of pieces of clothing, and that's just like so much, right? So you guys do the math. That's just a lot. And so, sorry, if there are these global trends that will continue to persist by 2050, like what Glenn said earlier, there will be more plastic than fish in the sea. And the textile sector is expected to represent a quarter of the world carbon budget, which will reach up to 300 million tons of textile waste, and again, which will amount to 22 million of microplastic, which will be released to the oceans in that same year. So, like what we've discussed, ganun talaga siya karami every single day, kahit ngayong pandemic, like the production of plastic is not stopping. And for our continuous discussion later, we are going to discuss about the current pandemic situation and how this affected the textile and the waste problem of plastics. Will be.
Okay, so thank you so much for that, Glenn and Julia. Those are really insightful, right? So we've invited them because they're coming from two viewpoints, like plastic and textile, because I know these are the two biggest problems that we have right now. And I do believe we've shared it in the statistics earlier, how alarming it is. You shared about how it can affect, but sometimes we sometimes forget this because there's the much bigger problem. And you're right, there's the pandemic, but there's this bigger problem. So this leads me to actually my next question, which is okay, my next question is, was there a significant changes in the plastic textile waste problem during this pandemic? Okay, because we're talking about this pandemic, and if there has been significant changes.
Yeah. So yeah, so the statistics you're looking at earlier, I guess I was in the context of looking at things how we were pre-pandemic, and it was bad then. Let's take a look at how things are now. So looking at the different data and looking at different studies, we just find that, in many different Asian countries, there's a lot, the generation of single-use plastics and disposables has just really shot through the roof right now. There's lots of reasons why it could come out from the whole pandemic. So number one, a lot of medical waste is made from plastic. So we can't really do anything about that. It's really necessary to be able. We can't compromise public safety and health. Okay, so we need to make sure that that's one thing. Plastic waste does come out of that, and we have to dispose of these kinds of things properly. So that's in the realm of medical waste. But one of the other things that we've seen also is that there's a lot of e-commerce and delivery activity going on. So lots of people are at home. They're at home basically because they can't go out, right? So what people do is that they try to buy from restaurants. They just have it delivered to their house. I think, for a lot of people, a way to deal with this whole pandemic is that they go online shopping, seeing for the latest sales, right? And when people do buy, it does create a lot of plastic waste throughout all of this. So I think those are the some of the main factors that really contributed to lots of disposable single-use plastics being generated during this period. So, right, and aside from that, on the personal side, it's also for a lot of businesses. I was in this conference a few weeks ago or so, and these lots of different businesses talked about how they're shifting back to their old habits of single-use plastics because they have to save money. They're really in survival mode right now, and one of the cheaper options is going back to disposables. And I think for me, it's pretty saddening that sustainability does take a back burner sometimes. But I see it from their perspective that they do want to minimize the spread of infection. That's why they're also trying to shift towards single-use plastics as well. But then again, just because it's single-use doesn't mean it's necessarily safe. I think that's one of the big misconceptions that we have right now is that it's okay to use single-use plastics and use more of it because we don't have to worry about we have to minimize the spread of infection. That's totally not the case. There's a lot more things we can do. We don't have to throw away our reusable habits. I can get a bit more into that later, but I'd also love to hear the discussion as well on the textile industry. But yeah, just to summarize, because of the pandemic, lots of people are staying at home. They're really doing lots of deliveries. Yeah, and all of that. And these all contribute to plastic waste. So it's really the change of habits because of this whole pandemic that's really contributed to more generation of plastic. Yeah. How about you, Julia? I'd love to hear about the textile part
Yeah.
instead.
Actually, to add to what you said again, there is a sudden increase talaga in the plastic waste and composition due to the COVID-19 pandemic. For instance, like what Glenn said earlier, there are more single-use face masks now, other plastic materials, like especially when there are online deliveries. Yeah, like for me, for example, I do buy a lot online, but now I'm trying to stop. And also, for example, for restaurants, the food, syempre, yun, production pa rin ng plastic and other materials that we can't really recycle and reuse. So, yeah, like what Lan said nga, um, it is not a reason for the people for these productions to go through just because we're in a pandemic that we should be creating more single-use plastic because there are a lot of other materials and other resources that we could use in order to utilize and to provide for the people while we're at home. And for example, we could reuse our own Tupperwares, containers. Like for me, my sister has an online business, and I actually posted there that if the people are going to pick it up from our home, they could bring their own containers, and we're going to give them a really huge discount because that's going to help not only the people but also the environment. So yes, Miss Wilby.
Yeah. And I'd also like to add to that as well, Julia, because we really are doing a lot of plastic in deliveries and all of that. I think it's high time we also look at different options for packaging as well. I think
Yeah,
that's one of the big things. I've seen a lot of businesses coming up right now that's looking at eco-friendly packaging. Like lots of online groups I'm part of, they're using newspaper instead to package instead of plastic. They're looking at biodegradable materials. Maybe Will could give us a bit more insight as well on that. But yeah, I think that's out of all of this, there's lots of people are still very um, focused on really trying to build up sustainability. And I think that's the light at the end of the tunnel because a lot of more people are waking up to the problem plastic waste. It's something a lot of more people are talking about now. And we should just try exploring what different materials, as you said, Julia, like biodegradable materials, other packaging as well. Maybe Ilvi can give us more insights on that.
Yeah, actually, I would agree with you. There are what we've shared it in previous webinars, and later, Jonna will tell more about what we're doing at AtoAni BioPack, like making use of agro-industrial ways to convert it into biodegradable packaging. But more than that, I think I would really love what you said, Glenn, about the habits, and also it's reiterated by Julia, the habits that change actually more of the the I'm guilty of this sometimes as well because we have these deliveries and it's the safe way to go now instead of going out. So I think of the habits part because of that it actually triggered the increase in plastic, and that's why it's good to like look into the ones that you're doing right now at Cloop, at Alpas, for example, or what we're doing at AtoAni BioPack and other like refill on the road or Salin last webinar. what we're doing in terms of reducing this plastic waste, right? So now, considering that I mentioned about what you're currently doing, so this leads me to my next question, which is actually, can you tell us more about upcycling? Because probably not everyone knows about upcycling. So, would want to start?
You want to go ahead, Julia?
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Okay, Julia.
Okay. So first, I want to differentiate upcycling from recycling. Because a lot of people ask me this, ano ba yung upcycling? Like, why do you always say upcycling, not just recycling, right? So a lot of people don't know, and now we're going to tell you. So recycling means solely reusing that item for its original purpose. But when you upcycle something, it's taking this single item and creating a new life from it and creating a new purpose for that item. So, for example, ang pinaka main example of this would be plastic bottles, right? Like you can see a lot of people using it as pots for their plants, and also you can reuse it for like the water. Like for example, for me, sa amin, there are times where the water is just stops running, right? Like yung mga problems ng Maynila, sorry, pero kailangan talaga siyang sabihin. So yung mga plastic bottles namin here, empty plastic bottles, we refill them with water and save water. So we just keep it there. So yeah, like upcycling is a method of sustainability that a lot of people can do even when they're at home, even using like any material you can think of, basically. So yeah, Glenn, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, you did summon a lot of the key points I was going to say. So I'll go, I guess, just to reiterate what you said, like recycling is just really taking products at the end of their life and repurposing them to something new. Now, the key difference with that, with upcycling, is that you create value out of something that was like a low value item, like for example, plastic waste. When you throw it away, it becomes like waste. People don't really care about it. It becomes a bit worthless. But then the difference of upcycling is that you transform it so it becomes a high value product. You're essentially creating value and using it as a resource to create something new about it. So that's pretty much, yeah, as you said, you did cover the basic idea of upcycling, which is creating value out of something out of it. And I think what I want to reiterate here is that we Filipinos, we do really have a recycling culture, especially here. Like, for example, how many times have you gone to your refrigerator, opened the freezer, like, wow, na-excite ako sa ice cream. And you open it, isda pala ang laman. So that's something that a lot of Filipino families do. Like, when you go to the groceries and take up plastic bags, like, you don't usually throw it away, right? You just put it under the sink to use it again. So it's really embedded in our culture to do recycling. I've spoken to my friends from other countries, and they're really amazed and how far we've taken this kind of recycling culture. It's something that we do a lot often. So I guess that's another piece of hope for us, is that in our country, it's something we do on a normal basis. It's just we have to take it a step further on how we can deal more with the plastic problem. And aside from upcycling, another very related concept that I want to share with the audience is the idea of a circular economy. So I'm sure we're all familiar with the idea of, like, once we use something, for example, let's say a plastic bottle, as you said, Julia, once we drank the water, we put it in the trash can, what happens afterwards? The collectors pick it up and they put it to landfills. And if it's not properly managed, it even ends up in oceans. That's why we have this really big problem of plastics leaking into the nature. So the idea of a circular economy is, instead of plastic or actually any type of waste material, at the end of its life going to, like, let's say, landfills, we put them back into the economy as something useful through methods like recycling and upcycling. So just a bit of a plug for ourselves. That's where we get the idea of closing the loop for us. We divert plastic waste that's generated by people in communities, and we transform them into high value products, putting them back into the economy and creating value out of this resource. So as I said, the circular economy is something that we have to rethink about. We have to rethink what we count as waste altogether, and we have to start redesigning products and systems so that they can be part of the circular economy. Because the way we do our waste management right now is all about getting the waste from our homes into the landfills. It's time we overhaul that and start asking ourselves, how do we rescue and divert plastic away from landfills into new resources, something we can input back into the circular economy? So those are the two ideas I really wanted to share about upcycling and circular economy. It's something that we really work on at Cloop, as well as Alpas. And actually, a lot of startups are working on it right now. So that's what I'm super happy about, because little by little, people are taking action, turning their passion for the environment and sustainability and creating something new out of it. So there, that's it.
I think that those are really good points that you shared, Julia and Glenn, about of course upcycling. That this is one thing, and the whole circular economy thing that you mentioned. That there's a lot of things really to it, and what you wanted here as well is to share the awareness and to have more people learn about these things, have it as a movement. I believe there are those starting this already, but I think it should be more people because there's a lot of Filipinos, and I think only a few are doing this right now. All right. So now, I'd like to share a next question. How can we then address the plastic and the textile waste in general, the problem that we have in here through upcycling, especially now in the context that we are under the new normal? And you mentioned that there has been like significant changes due to the behavior, and so there's a shoot up or increase in the, this waste that are generated.
Yeah, that's going to be a big challenge, because right now it's really hard to move around, especially for us. I would say, like Alpas, we've also been hit hard by the pandemic. We're not able to move as freely as we're able to do so before. So I guess one of the things we can do is first of all, start with ourselves. Let's look at what little actions we can make, because small actions multiplied by millions of people can create huge impact. I forgot who said that, but it's something that's really resonated with me for the past few days or so, because it really is true. If we can get more people to get on this sustainability train and being able to change and shift their habits, we're able to create a lot of difference in this up in the plastic waste problem in the new normal. I said this a while ago. Don't throw away your zero waste habits. I saw this publication by Save Philippine Seas and lots of different plastic and nature organizations. They released this guide that explains how to work with reusable plastics in the new normal. It's something that's really inspired me. And yeah, I guess just to share some key points from that. As I said earlier, single-use plastics doesn't necessarily mean safer. We just have to get that kind of misconception out of our head, and we have to figure out that, and we have to uh as I said, we have to look into, again, reusable plastics. It's okay to still use reusables as long as you still take the necessary precautions and health measures. So that means cleaning and disinfecting after every use. But it's still okay to use them. Don't throw away your zero waste habits just because we're in a pandemic. There's still so much more you can do. Aside from that, one thing I've really seen a lot of people do lately is that they're doing lots of challenges. They challenge themselves to shift their habits, taking a conscious effort to do that. Lots of my friends right now, they're trying to cut back on the number of deliveries that they make every week. So I see some people from 5 to 3 to once a week na lang. So it's really inspiring to see that really taking change and making really shifting your habits. Okay. It's a lot more things I could say, but I'd love to hear about what you would say as well, Julia. What other things we can work on as citizens as well?
I actually agree with everything you said, Glenn. Again, parehas na naman tayo ng insight. So, for me, change really starts with yourself. Although change is a collective effort, if you're not doing anything, if you're not doing your part, paano na yung change talaga na gusto mong mangyari? So, like what Glenn said earlier and what I've said earlier, for example, sa deliveries, we should cut back on the deliveries talaga. Or for example, if you're going to order something online, maybe you could order it with your friends who live around you, so that like it could only be in one delivery. So like less plastic waste and less, And I'd like to share, I guess, more examples of upcycling that you can do at home. So for me, for Alpas, like all of our packaging for the plants, the clothes, the sunnies, they're all recycled and they're all upcycled. So all of those packaging materials are coming from our home lang. Because for me here at home, we have so much things that we could use, like so much things that we could be upcycling. For example, the paper bags from groceries, plastic bags from groceries, and upcycling is also a method of expressing yourself. For some people, I saw this girl online. She's using the method of upcycling to showcase her art. She's painting on different plastic materials and then she's selling them online. So, like while you're upcycling and you're helping the environment, you're also providing income for yourself, diba? So, ayun, like, I think we should see it not only as something for other people, but for us as well, because we're living in this environment. And if we don't put a stop to the production of plastic and textile waste, nothing will happen. Like, there's no change that's going to happen. So again, like, we should start from our home. We should start with ourselves, and we could share this information with others. So going on to the textile problem, for me, recently I got myself a mini sewing machine, and I started upcycling my own clothes, like the clothes that I don't usually wear or the clothes that don't fit me anymore. I made different bags, different tops out of them. And actually, ito, not a lot of people know this, but thrifting or ukay-ukay, it's actually a method of upcycling and sustainability as well, because you're actually reducing the waste of textile and retail industry's waste. So, ayun. Miss Wilby, do you want to add to that? I think you've
Yeah.
said so much na. Yes.
Actually, I really agree with what you actually shared a lot of insights, and insights that are not usually, kasi if you mentioned about upcycling baka high level, and then only like big or startups can do this. But even through simple things, we like staying at home, or even people who are not really into this can actually help in upcycling, as what Glenn and also what you, Julia, have shared about. And I think more people as well are curious. And yeah, there's some comments, yes, thrift shopping and all. So I'm just reading some of the comments. There's actually a question here, so I actually, this leads me to my next one. I think that's the last question that we have, but we are open again to
Yeah.
more questions coming from our audience. Again, we wanted you to type in your questions in the comment section. If you have, don't forget your likes, your heart reacts, and you can always share this live stream to your respective Facebook pages and Facebook accounts. So now, I will be reading the first question. So
Yeah.
there's this question about
Actually, will be.
upcycling.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
before we get to that, I did have some things that I just thought about, that maybe
yeah.
some other things that people would like to talk about. Some other
Cool.
insights people can do as well.
Yes.
Um, one thing that I've done that's really helped me in my sustainability journey is that I've joined lots of online groups, like yung mga zero waste groups. And as you said, Julie, there's lots of ways you can upcycle. That's where I get lots of inspiration. My family like doing a lot of these kinds of activities as well. My mom wants to build a birdhouse. So I think there's lots of ways you can look at upcycling as well. And you can get inspiration from these kinds of groups and really connect with people, like-minded people. So you can see how you can turn that, I don't know, that old shoe, old clothes that you have into something new and breathe new life into them. That's one thing I would really, really recommend. The second thing I would look at is there's lots right now. There is still lots of organizations that still collect plastic waste. Okay, so yun. I don't want to name the names right now, but you can look at collecting what you have at home, and you can find the different kinds of plastic organizations near you in your area, and you can try dropping it off there at those sites where they can upcycle it into something new as well. So yeah, those are the two things I would also like to add to the insights before you go into the other questions. Yeah, awesome.
And also, Julia, do you have something to add in that line as well, with regards to upcycling and probably not upcycling, sustainability, or about how to take part and being part of groups?
Actually, I like Glenn. I've also joined a lot of zero waste groups recently, especially when I started this like whole advocacy and living out like my own passion. And through those groups, I've actually learned more on how I can recycle, upcycle, on how I can produce zero waste. And yeah, like what Glenn said earlier, it's really important to share these information with others, because again, change is a collective effort, and again, it should always start with us. So, ayan, Miss Wilby.
Yeah, cool. So I would like to pin that comment. Change is a collective effort, and it should always start with us. All right. So now let's have the first question. Is from Miss Francesca Castro. So the question is, doesn't the upcycling process emit harmful gases also? I think probably they're concerned about doing this because.
For
So Glenn,
plastics.
yeah.
Yeah. So um does it emit harmful gases? That's the question you're asking, right? Throughout this whole thing. So I think that's really specific towards our process. So what we do in our process is that we get plastic waste, we put it through our shredder machines, and then we put it through different types of molders. And then, as you said, we do subject it to high amounts of heat so that it does melt and mold. And I guess one thing that people are looking at is the fumes. Are they toxic? So I want to say, um, in a way, they're not the best for your health, but we can still find ways to really manage these fumes and really work with it properly. So that's one thing we've been doing at Cloop, is that we've been developing these fume management systems to make sure that in the communities that we're working with, it's that we, number one, we don't subject the materials that we're working with to very high levels, such that they emit yung mga large toxic gases. So really try to find a way to minimize that. And number two, we provide yung mga safety precautions, like as I said, the fume management system. So those are the things we're working on right now. Yun. So it's all about making sure the health, first and foremost, as a priority of everyone. So we want to make sure that, with the process that we do make, we're still keeping our community partners safe. Yeah.
I think I agree with you, Glenn. So probably not all well, not so much into that, although I have chemical engineering background as well. I would agree that we should keep that as long as there's precautions as what you're doing at Loop, it's actually okay. And usually those that emit gases, those that are in the landfills, and there are other materials or plastic waste that are together with that. That's why it's harmful. Okay, so now there's actually a lot of comments about thrift shopping, so probably people can relate to thrift shopping and donating old clothes to the home for the aged or the orphanage. And they mentioned about eco brick from plastic. So there's this next question about upcycling. So why upcycling materials are most expensive? They can be made from waste. So this is coming from Nico. So why are they expensive? I think this can apply to both of you, Glenn and Julia.
Okay, I think I can start with that. So for me, I think upcycling materials or upcycled items are more expensive because they are crafted uniquely by each individual. For example, if I forgot, there's a lot of businesses out there doing upcycling and they're actually producing a lot of their items and they're selling their items. And like what I said earlier, they're not exactly the same. Like each upcycled product and each upcycled material is made with love and with effort and with hard work. And again, if you don't think that they should be that too expensive, or if you think that you could do it on your own, you should do it on your own because these people, like I said earlier, that one girl that I said who's actually who's promoting her art through upcycling is selling her items. It's only a way of her to showcase her expression to show her expression of her art and her identity, and to also promote again the method of upcycling. So if you have other ideas that could help us, upcycle, you could just comment it down below. And yeah, Glenn.
Yeah, for me as well, the reason, I guess the question is, right, why are upcycled products a bit more expensive than normal, right? So I guess, from a business standpoint, material costs are only one part of the thing. You also have to worry about labor, machine costs, electricity, all of that. There's lots of things that go into, well, in our process specifically, lots of things go into making the product from plastic waste into a premium high quality product. And as I said, as Julia said, it is very artisanal. We do work with the communities in making sure that every piece is always unique, one of a kind, and really being able to, yeah, as I said, that kind of story as well. So really just trying to provide you mga opportunities to those less fortunate mga communities in need. So that's why for some products they're more expensive than others, but I know that it is for a good cause and it does divert waste away from landfills and really does rescue it. Even those small items, it does go a long way as long as more people are able to patronize these kinds of things. I hope that answers your question regarding the pricing over some upcycled products.
I would totally agree with you. So I think it's more of this like not only sustainable products or even organic products, all of this is expensive. I think probably because less people have a demand for this, and probably later on, I don't know, later on it can go down once we increase the demand. There's economies of scale, and I think I agree with you. It's really, if you have the heart for, there's a story you mentioned about the story behind each of these products that was created, and I think that's what you are paying for it. Not actually the product, but what you're paying for it, the story behind the product that they're creating. Okay, so I think there's a lot of comments. You mentioned about comments from, say, from Kathleen. You can visit Singapore. They have this program of burning waste plastic but turn dirty air to good energy. That's really good. And eco bricks as well. So I think there's no more questions to you. So if you have more questions, please keep them coming. But if if in, because we have less time already, 6:40. So I think if you have questions, I think our panelists are active in Facebook, very active in Facebook, and I always comment there. And please feel free to share your respective pages as well. We're trying to pin it, but yeah, it's in the not pinned comment. So all right.
Yeah,
So
if ever you have any additional questions, feel free to message us at Cloop. We'd be happy to answer your questions.
mhm. Yeah, Julia as well. We can.
Also message me privately on Facebook or our page Alpas. It's Shop Alpas PH, or our Instagram at shop.alpas.
Yeah. Oh, there's one more. I would like to like kind of answer this because this just came up. This is from Carla Balmores. Any interesting upcycled products that you would recommend for minimalist buyers? Yeah. Anyone can like share.
So, syempre, plug namin yung sarili namin products, di ba? Yeah. So the question you're asking is for minimal buyers, what kind of upcycle products they can start looking at?
Yes. Any recommendations? Siguro kahit say category or types lang of these products that they can, you would recommend to buy.
I think I would need a bit of clarification on the what does minimal lifestyle mean? Yeah, is it?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, there's this probably, let's just say they're starting out and they want to like patronize upcycled products. What would you recommend, for example, for those who are like, starting out to patronize these products?
Yeah, so I guess for me, I would definitely plug in Cloop. So that's definitely one of the things we do is that we work with communities in need. We're able to transform their plastic waste into high value products. So right now, we're developing our one of our first collections to come out. So just stay tuned for that. We'll be looking at what products we can release to the public so that you can consume. But for now, yeah, just stay tuned for any updates on our end. What about you, Julia?
I think for the minimalist buyers, siguro ang sinasabi niya is like the design. I don't know, or like minimalist type of thing. But siguro they can start with eco bags. I know it's a cliche thing to say, but it's really the first step to like zero waste, because a lot of people, a lot of groceries and different malls still produce plastic bags, and if you could bring your own eco bag, like why not, right? And a lot of eco bags right now, we'll just probably comment it down below. There's a lot of businesses creating eco bags from plastic waste or um, like waste that can't be recycled anymore. So again, yeah,
Yeah,
there's
I think aside from products as well, you can look at different services. So there's lots of delivery services that I see right now that make use of compostable packaging instead. So if you can patronize those kinds of services, for example, for your next deliveries, if you're, for example, you have an online shop, maybe you can try to use those instead. So I'm not gonna name any names here. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but as I think what you said, Julia, looking at products like eco bags and really trying to see what products are in your area and you can patronize because at this point right now we need to support local businesses. Lots of people are really out of jobs right now, so being able to patronize yung mga small local business, even if it's for your family members, your friends, it really goes a long way. So yun, if there's any that meeting zero waste lifestyle that you're looking for, yeah, just feel free to look. I think Facebook Marketplace is a good place to start. You can just see what you can find through there.
Those are really good points about supporting local, especially now that even with this quarantine restrictions, I think localizing is really the best thing that we can do. there's one more question. This is the last question, promise, that I will ask before we like switch to like kind of give you your plug for your different businesses. So from Nico as well, can you give some pieces of advice to those people or individuals who want to start their business in upcycling? So I think this is a very good question. That's why I wouldn't want to not question this. All right. Who would want to start?
What advice can we give Julia? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go. Well, for me, I co-founded Cloop in my last year of college. So I was trying to juggle a lot of things during that time. So I guess, if you're an well, someone who wants to get started in the upcycling business, I would say the first thing you should do is just start. For me, I guess a lot of things you do learn along the way. Experience is one of the best teachers. So what I would suggest is just start, try to see what you can do in your own communities right now. It's going to be difficult because we're in a health pandemic, but lots of businesses that are thriving right now did start in periods like this, in recessions, these kinds of things. So I would say, I guess now is, if you're watching now, I guess, and if you feel in your heart that you do want to start your own zero waste upcycling business, this is the sign to start right now. Okay, I'm telling you. Yeah, just starting will really, you just learn a lot along the way. I think Julia can really attest to that as well.
I really agree with that, Glenn. Like, again, if you have an idea to start something, like any business, especially this upcycling, that's really nice, and we will fully support you because we are in need of more upcycling and sustainable businesses. And again, we're here to support locals. So if you're going to start your business, there's a lot of people out there that will support you. And again, another piece of advice maybe is, aside from learning from our experiences, maybe you could research on how you could upcycle the products that you already have. For example, if at home you have more paper, like you could just research on that. Like you could start with what you have already, so you don't really have to like buy more materials or anything. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And to add to that as well, something I just thought of, what I really love about the upcycling space is that we all know that waste is such a big problem. One person can't just do everything on their own, which is why the space is very collaborative. Lots of different businesses like to work with each other. Like, I don't know, maybe after this we could work together, Julia, on some kind of collaboration. Maybe other businesses we do work with a lot. So that's something I would say is something you might want to look at as well. Try looking at different zero waste stores or businesses near you and try to see how you can help them out. In this space, collaboration really is key to solving the problem, because if you're able to link up several different businesses and people, change makers together, you really can make a big difference. So that's what I would suggest. Look for people who can help you on your journey. Find mentors, support, join a community. I would suggest there are lots of online communities there um, for just about any advocacy. Like, for example, we do have these sustainable package advocates.
Yeah.
There are some other online communities I know in housing made from plastic waste. So there's a lot you can look at. So just join those groups, find a support system, and collaborate with people in this space. So much more you can do through that.
Yeah. I would really agree. Yes, Julia?
I just like to add to what Glenn said. It's really important to surround yourself with like-minded people. Recently, I've joined a Change Makers workshop by Kids for Kids Philippines, and I really learned so much from there. And again, it's really important to be with people who are supporting you and supporting the same advocacy as you are. And by there, you're going to learn so much. Like what Glenn said earlier, you could get mentors or other friends who have the same advocacy, and you're going to share different ideas and you're going to collaborate, and that's from there you can start change.
Yeah. I would really agree to both of that. Being part of a community and actually being, because when you are part of a community, you are with like-minded people, and so you encourage each other to move forward. So I think that's really vital, especially now. Mental health, or positivity and the drive to actually do this despite the pandemic. And I believe you, this is the best time to do it when you start a business, because you have so much more time to do it right now. Less clutter, I guess, from all the the time management issues that you have a lot more time now. So please do start your business now. So I think that's the last question I will have because you're almost time. So with that, would like to call on. So for any last points, no, coming from Cloop, you might want to share to our audience, and any for example, any things that you wanted to share to our audience, how they can connect with you or how it can reach you. Glenn?
Yeah, definitely. You can connect with us on Facebook. So you just add Cloop Tech to find us out there. There's our logo. So if you can find our page, please do like it. We do have a lot of updates coming up in the next few days. As I said, we are launching by the end of this month. So just be in tune for that. Lots of things are going to come out for the next few months for Cloop. Yun. So just follow our page and see what's there. What else could I say? Yeah, we are, if, for example, your community, if you want to set up a kind of Cloop system there, if you want to turn the plastic waste in your community into high value products, I highly encourage you to message the page, get in touch with us. Let's see what we can do, because we'd love to work together with more communities and really scaling our impact and really fighting plastic waste and closing the loop altogether. So next slide, I think I have one more thing to plug in. Yeah. So right now, actually just last week, we released a call for interns. So if you're a student or fresh grad and you're passionate about making social and environmental impact, I highly, highly encourage you to apply to be an intern. And there's lots of things you can learn from each other. Just go to the website here, tinyurl.com/cloopintern, tinyurl.com/cloopintern. You can find more details on the different on the internship program on our Facebook page. So yeah, like it as well. That's it for me. Thank you guys for having me on. I had a lot of fun in this discussion, really learning more about plastic waste and the textile industry as well.
All right. Thank you so much, Glenn. We've learned a lot from you as well. I think everyone, because of the comments and the questions, I think they would really learn a lot from all our panelists as well. So I'd like to call in Julia. Any last points that you want our audience to know, how they can support your advocacy?
Just to comment on Glenn's internship program, I'm actually gonna apply. So ayun guys, join so that we're all going to be together if I pass. So for Alpas, again, our Facebook page is Shop Alpas PH and our Instagram page is shop.alpas. And I guess the last points that I want to give for this discussion is number one, again, change starts from yourself, although it is a collective effort. Number two, always have a purpose for your passion. And number three, always remember who you're doing it for and what you're doing it for. That's it. Thank you so much for having me. I learned so much from Glenn and Miss Wilby, and I hope you guys learned so much too.
Okay, thank you so much, Glenn and Julia. So I would like to thank you for your generosity in sharing your experience, your expertise about upcycling, and I think the audience have learned a lot and have picked up good points from the discussion, as in way more a lot. So thank you so much. So with that, before we end, I would like to call in Jonah from AtoAni BioPack to share to us about AtoAni BioPack's advocacy and how you can take part, and just like our guest panelists for today, how you can share your knowledge, be part of our next batch of panelists, or be a moderator like Harmony during the last webinar. Okay, Jonna?
So, hi, I'm Jonna. My background is in industrial engineering, but I am passionate about sustainability as well. With this, I currently lead the partner collaborations function of AtoAni BioPack and the product development function of AtoAni. In previous webinar, we have shown these statistics for plastic waste in the Philippines. It's about 163 million sachets, of which our guest panelists today from Cloop and Alpas is also trying to address. In addition to that, we have over 6,900 tons of bagasse that is wasted daily. For those who are new to this webinar series, you might think, why am I showing you this seemingly unrelated statistics? But these are the problems that we are trying to address at the Tuani Biopack. We make use of agro-industrial waste, such as bagasse, to serve as a new raw material in making sustainable biodegradable packaging to help reduce reliance on plastics. With this, in our own little way, we hope to spread awareness not only about sustainable packaging, but also about zero waste and sustainability practices, as what you have learned now about upcycling and on other sustainable solutions, which we will showcase in our next webinar episodes. With that, to anyone who wants to take part of this awareness, advocacy, and share their knowledge, social enterprises, zero waste shops, manufacturers such as sugar mills, paper and packaging manufacturers, and zero waste and sustainability advocates, we would love to connect with you. So we are looking for our next batch of panelists to learn from. If you are interested to become a panelist in one of our webinar episodes or become one of our webinar moderators, just like Harmony, who moderate our previous webinar, please feel free to send us a message on our Facebook page at AtoAni BioPack or Instagram at AtoAni_BioPack. Or you can also join our community of advocates through our Facebook group, AtoAni X Sustainable Packaging Advocates, where we organize webinars such as this, community online events, collaborations, discussions, as well as share first-hand speaker and moderator opportunities.
Thank you, Jonna, for that. So still under AtoAni BioPack, we are starting something new in September. We have this webinar series in August where we showcase to you sustainable solutions from experts. So in September, we will be showcasing a few social enterprises who want to share their story and how they started and what are they advocating, and that we may learn from them as well. So you mentioned about the community and having like-minded individuals. So if you're a business owner, you have a story to tell, and your business advocates for zero waste and sustainability, then we would like to feature you on AtoAni feature series. Just go to the link indicated here. So that's https atoaniph-typeform.com to/smqdoqny. So just go to this link. We will be sharing it as well in the comments section, and we will be selecting from those who signed up some social enterprises that we would feature. So with this as a call to action, um, we encourage everyone to learn and advocate for sustainable and zero waste practices to the people around us by not only attending these webinars. You can always share this to your family, to your friends, to your colleagues who might be interested to collectively take action. So watch out for more AtoAni Learn Series episodes by liking AtoAni Learn Series, AtoAni's page, AtoAni BioPack's Facebook page, at AtoAni BioPack for zero waste and sustainability webinars, and AtoAni's Facebook page for agriculture topics at AtoAni PH. So don't miss our next webinar. So actually have an upcoming webinar next Saturday, same time. So we will be joined by our panelists, Danny of Adeo and Lawrence of ACOM. So here we will be talking about how we can redesign sustainable communities under the new normal. And if this is something that you are interested, again, this will be live streamed in our Facebook page, same time next Saturday. All right. So with that, I would like to officially close this webinar. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you for those who have shared their comments, their questions, those who have given their reacts. So we hope that you have gained something out from this. See you next Saturday, same time, and have a good night, everyone. Bye.